Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
Well, hello, world, and welcome to Untold Radio. My name's Jay Katz.
And I'm Espasuya.
And this is episode 89. Can you believe that? 89.
Yeah, I can.
No wonder I'm feeling a little exhausted. We have an astounding guest with us today, but before I introduce this beautiful, brilliant, credentialed researcher into the paranormal, which is a breath of fresh air, I have to say that we are broadcasting on stolen land, and it's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and we want to acknowledge and pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging.
Yes, we do.
Now, Vice President of Parapsychology Australia, or the Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research, the incredible person behind an amazing plethora of conferences and events at Salubrious Events. Welcome to Untold Radio, down south Anomalies, Joyce Bok. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here.
Hang on.
Just leave that and stop playing.
I know, I'm just trying to get our names under there. I don't know where our names
what
have
happened
gone.
there?
I don't know where they've disappeared to.
Oh, well, let's not worry about it.
No,
People know who we are. We've just introduced Joyce.
That's right.
Now, Joyce has an incredible online conference coming up that we're both very excited about.
Absolutely.
And we actually, when we ran across this material, we realized that there are certain elements of this incredible country and profound researches that we're still very naive about.
Exactly.
And so about time we got up to speed. On July the 27th of this year via Zoom.
That's right.
Starting at 8 a.m. because Joyce is in there bright and early to mingle with the guests.
That's right.
They have an array of profound speakers. We will get to that conference.
We will.
It is an amazing online conference, very cheap and reasonable to be part of and interact with.
Not cheap, good value.
Great value, profound value.
Yeah.
But you are a clinical psychologist, and we actually have a little invisible college with some profound clinical psychologists that have come onto the side of this research because they've never gone out to seek it, Joyce. They've actually found it in some of the client base.
Yeah.
And they've found it through people that sometimes show signs of post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder from something that cannot be explained.
Yeah.
So how did this field actually bring you to it? I mean, I know that you might have had an event in your teenage years at boarding school, but was that the reason? Were you always curious about the anomalous?
Were you open to the anomalous?
I just want to make a correction. I am not a clinical psychologist. I am a general psychologist. Just wanted to make that clear. But I have had.
I'm always doing that.
That's all right. Thank you, though. I have had 22 years in the field of psychology. And what brought me is I've always had an interest, and I've also experienced paranormal events, like at boarding school when the radio was going on and off in the middle of the night. There was no batteries in the radio, and and I saw a ghostly figure as well.
Can you just elaborate on that? Was that figure, did it look like a human being?
No, it looked like a misty white thing. It looked like if you can imagine getting a handful of flour, like a white flour, for baking cakes, and you throw it in the air and it's all suspended. So it's this misty white thing near my bed. And it was in the middle of the night. Everyone else was asleep. There was around maybe 8 other people in the room sleeping. And I heard the radio, the girl's radio opposite me, going on and off, on and off. And I thought she was playing with her radio. So I told her can you please shut down the radio? I'm trying to sleep. But I looked over and she was fast asleep.
So nobody else heard the
yeah.
radio
It
except
didn't look
you?
like it. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Everyone
Okay.
else was fast asleep. So
Mm,
I
that's
walked over to her bed
Mhm.
and I turned it to from radio to tape, back in the day,
Mhm.
if you
Yep.
remember. But the music kept going on and off, even when I did that. So I turned the volume right down to 0, and that's when it stopped. And in the morning, I asked the girl, did you know that your radio was going on and off last night? And she said, that's impossible. There's no batteries in it. And it wasn't plugged in because we weren't allowed to plug in anything at the school.
Okay.
And was that your first experience, the first conscious experience you had of something anomalous?
I think probably the one that I recall. I might have had small little things, but yeah, that was one big event that I recall.
Mhm.
But I've had I've seen 2 UFOs. I've been in a hotel. I think it was in Argentina. I was sure it was haunted, and I said, if there's a ghost in this room, the light was on. I said, if there's a ghost in this room, turn the lights off, and the lights went off immediately.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
Little things like
So
that.
when you saw the radio thing and the flowery apparition,
Yeah.
what did you think at the time? Did
Were
you
you
think
afraid?
no? Did you think this is something really, really weird, or did you just go, oh, I don't know, just crazy things happen all the time. I'll just forget about it.
It was. I think I just thought I was I felt like I was kind of a bit groggy, half asleep.
Right. Okay.
And I didn't recall being afraid. I just thought, this is weird.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the radio went on and off, and I thought, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's only after when I thought, oh, that
was really weird.
That was really weird.
Yeah.
As a psychologist, what would make you think that this is not some sort of hypnagogic state, that your brain activity wasn't playing games on you? Was it the radio? Was it the sighting? What would make you actually think that there's something more to this than something that my perception, because I'm coming out of sleep, has made me feel like I'm experiencing something that may not necessarily be there?
Well, I don't usually experience this sort of thing that often, like a radio going on and off. But maybe, I'm always open to me being half asleep and maybe imagining it, because there's no other witnesses. And that's, the whole scientific approach is you need evidence. But sometimes it's evidence enough for myself. But if I was to try and convince other people, no, you need another witness.
And I don't want to actually suppress that story by any means. And maybe could you explain to us and the listening and viewing public, remember viewing, we're up on YouTube and Facebook, what's the difference between a clinical psychologist and just a psychologist?
A general psychologist.
Yeah, general psychologist.
Yeah, clinical psychologists would do further studies. So they would do a master's or PhD, and they focus more on the abnormal psychology, or not abnormal, the diagnosis of the different mental illnesses. So that's what they specialize in. Whereas a general psychologist is a bit like a GP, a general GP, that we look at all different things, but not specialize in the one thing, or in mental illnesses.
Yeah.
So I do see people with, general anxiety, post-trauma, but if it gets too deep, I might refer them to someone else.
Have you seen that on the increase since the last 4 years?
Yes.
I've noticed that there is a major mental health deficit that's not being actually articulated or recognised very well. And
they know it's happening, they're just not saying it.
Yeah, I think because people realise that sort of isolation and mortality in the West I'm sure in third world countries it's a day-to-day issue, but it's not something we tend to deal with very well. We seem to hide away all our funerary practices and things like that. But I'm just noticing we all appear to have a little bit of post-traumatic stress because of what's
I
occurred.
agree. Yeah. The world is a lot more complicated, and with the internet, we are exposed to a lot of traumatic things as well. It gives us a lot of things to worry about. Maybe there's a breakdown in community, becoming more isolated. And I think we're all too quick to diagnose as well. I think, the medical field just diagnose people too rapidly and give them the antidepressants. I prefer to work without that and look at more the causes of the anxiety and trauma,
rather than giving them medication.
That's a very
It
smart
just
thing.
masks. It doesn't actually get to the heart of the problem to stop it. Without the
that's
medication.
right.
Yeah. And the
That's
medication then gives you a whole bunch of other problems as well.
Exactly.
But then the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to get rich if you do that, do they?
No, they're not going to be happy with either of us here. I had a band there for 20 years. I did a lot of street welfare. I started as a nurse. I met my wife 33 years ago as a diversional therapist in nursing homes. And I put together a band of mentally ill musicians. I mean, we were talking about bipolar, schizophrenia, and they couldn't even turn their Casios on in the nursing home because they were playing discordant music. So I made it an abstract band. I thought I need to give these people power, and the power is just being
Putting them
surreal.
on stage,
And it really made a difference to them. And I saw these people as they would have been considered probably shamans 200 or 300 years ago. Now we actually cannot cope with that.
No.
And, thinking back to tribal communities, they would actually assist people in that shamanic experience. We might call it psychosis, but they would see it as enlightenment, and they have to deal with their day-to-day functions from hygiene to food. And then eventually that shaman will come out of that moment or that psychotic moment and be able to reintegrate back into that tribal community. Today, we've got them in hostels being thrown on tranquilizers. It's a rather sad affair. And I actually saw, Joyce, I saw moments of physical damage from the drugs that they were using, like tardigrade, the involuntary movement in the mouth, dissipate when they were playing their music. It seemed to alleviate. So I get a feeling that there's something more going on here, and we need to exercise caution before jumping onto the pharmaceutical line for an answer. And I'm really proud that there's people out like you out there in the community doing that practice that is really constructive, that see a different way out.
That's really wonderful what you've done. You've really given them a way to express themselves. And
which we all need.
Just for that self-esteem as well. I mean, and what you were saying about the psychosis, I think it's really sad that we've lost the recognition of what we call a spiritual emergency and the shamanism. I think because the age of science, they're really cutting off the whole spiritual side of things, which is such an essential part of being human. And I think so many people that are emerging in that are being shut down from their abilities. And that's really sad. There's no place for them. They're just put in the category of being mentally ill when they're probably not, but just in transition.
And that spectrum just keeps getting larger and larger, and that scares me a lot because it just means that there's these pharmacological answers. But anyway, let's go into, you are the vice president of the Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research. The president is a doctor and a very esteemed gentleman, and you've done some great investigations and research. That institute has been established since 1977. It's a non-profit association. Can you tell us about that institute and how you found your way there?
Yeah, sure. I found it through doing Rob Tilley's ghost busting clearing course. I flew all the way from Melbourne to Sydney to do it, and that's how I found out about it. And I tried to do the courses online, and just went to their conferences and met them. Yeah, that's Rob
There's
Tilley.
Rob
Yeah,
Tilley.
What a gorgeous photo of Rob.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's our resident Ghostbuster, very experienced. Yeah, we've done a survey and he's got a 85% success rate in his clearings.
Wow.
But yeah, so this organization has been around, as you said, for quite a long time. We really focus on gathering data, and we want to get the facts of different cases which cannot be explained. And we are very research focused. We've got a few academics as part of our members, and in our core committee of 6 people, 3 of them are university lecturers or have PhDs. And they're continuing research in paranormal anomalies. I'm a practitioner, and there's another lady who is a clairvoyant and also a counsellor, and someone else from the public. So that's the core committee, and we've got members all over the world as well. It's very inexpensive to join. It's $10 a year, and you get a newsletter, a couple of 2 or 3 newsletters a year. We have a journal as well, the Journal of Parapsychology, Australian Journal of Parapsychology.
And that's a peer-reviewed journal too. I mean, that's a journal of some substance.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
$10 is so reasonable. The amount of work you people
So can
put
anybody
in.
join this association?
Anyone can join. The journal is $70. You get 2 journals a year for a physical copy, but for an online copy, it's about $35. Again, very reasonable. We do.
So that gives you all the cases that you guys have been researching, or what does the journal entail?
It's some of them are cases that we've done or research that we've done, and some of them are from other people that have done research. Yeah. So I did one study and it got published in there. That's to do with whether out-of-body experience can be induced by hypnosis. And to test that, I had a box. I put a box on top of a shelf, so it's above eye level, and I put an object. I randomly selected an object and put it in there. And so to test whether, I would hypnotize the participant, and to test whether they actually did have an out-of-body experience. The theory is that if they did, they should be able to rise above and look inside the box and tell me what the object is.
Right. And did they? Well, you've got to buy the journal to find out.
No.
What was the percentage?
So 50% of the experimental group either had a hit. So a hit is they named the object, or had a partial hit, which means they described the object. So the color, the texture, the shape. The control group only 9%. So only one person in the control group had a partial hit. So that told us that when you're in a trance state, which is what hypnosis is, there's a higher chance of you accessing extrasensory abilities.
Right. Like being able to leave your body. Wow.
And
they didn't. I don't think they left their body, but I think they intuitively. Yeah, I don't, because they
got the ocular vision.
Well, you've got to be up high to get the ocular vision.
No. It's that ocular vision can actually be induced without leaving the body. And you know the studies of Dr. Kenneth Ring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's so profound.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are in a meditative state, we're probably more prone to be able to access the PSI or extrasensory abilities. So
And
yeah, I
that
mean,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm just thinking about inventors who, dream about things and their
Tesla.
inventions and write it down. Yeah.
And there are, I mean, Tesla was able to run road tests on
In his
induction
mind.
motors in his mind.
Yeah.
So he would come up with the solution before there was a practical three-dimensional object prototype constructed.
Mhm.
And lots of people have stated that. I think, Joyce, that my greatest fear is in this distractive culture we're living in now, the short attention span, the TikTok world, the Twitch world, that we're actually breaking probably one of the most profound abilities that any human being has, and that is the ability to concentrate on a single idea and meditate. I mean, how many people would find it extremely difficult to meditate now in the culture that we live in? It's that culture of like, I'm going to be left out unless I just keep looking at this material.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's very destructive to these things that I assume it's just an assessment of mine that in childhood, we all possibly had that ability. But when reductionistic thought and the paradigms of science step in,
School.
we start to lose that ability because of those paradigms are actually putting us in a box.
Yeah, I agree. Imagine what the world would be like if we taught children how to access those abilities, clairvoyancy, precognition, telepathy, levitation, even.
Yeah.
I think,
Well,
yeah, that's my passion anyway for
Yeah.
studying this, because I don't think we've reached our potential.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, I just, we just, with our grandchildren, we've got 2 grandchildren, and one's 16 and the other one's 9. And because of who we are and the way we see things and what they've been exposed to from a young age, like UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoots, all that stuff, it's all a possibility. It's definitely, these things
They're
are
open to
possible,
it.
that they're out there, and they can, you can see a UFO and they do exist. And so when somebody says to them, "Oh, that's not real," they're like, "What do you mean it's not real? Our grandparents told us that they are real." So, that's, and they don't understand why these people are not believing or don't know that these things actually exist, or that there is a possibility that they exist.
And I think the other thing that Joyce should know as a psychologist is that one of the greatest fears, especially in Western world, is what other people perceive us to be, what other people's opinion is. And ridicule is really destructive in that sense. I mean, one of our greatest fears is public speaking. I mean, why should that be? But it's again about self-representation.
Absolutely.
And this whole plethora of this astounding scale of abilities that lay dormant in many ways in us is actually so threatened by the public response to articulating them.
Yeah, I think it's to do with controlling our perception of ourselves and repressing these abilities. Yeah, we can go into that sort of discussion,
We
but
would
if
be here
we,
for months.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't wanna
if we
open
heal
that can of worms.
ourselves, we wouldn't need this pharmaceuticals as much. And if we, if we could, really be guided by our own inner guidance, etc. Yeah, we probably wouldn't need to pay for advice from so many different people. And I
Therein
don't know.
lies the conundrum.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it make perfect sense that if you cut yourself, that your skin heals? So mentally, you should be holistically able to actually do that with your organs and things that have gone wrong. Cancer cells are something that lay dormant in all of us,
Well, we've got
and,
them. We've
and
got them.
insurance companies are well aware that a lot of cancers go into remission. So
Yeah.
if they hold back from payment for a long time, maybe that'll go into remission and they never have to pay out on it.
Yeah.
So I just think and the other thing I'm fascinated in is you are a hypnotherapist, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been doing clinical hypnosis, and it's been fascinating. It's been really powerful. I've seen people who come to me for fear of public speaking or fear of needles, depression, anxiety, or irritable bowel syndrome, and I've seen their symptoms reduce. I can't explain it, but something tweaks in them.
Yeah.
So, habits. So again, it's the unconscious mind and tapping into that. And, it's just really me doing some positive affirmations while they're in that state, and they're more receptive to those suggestions. So all the positive suggestions, and that just transfers to when they're in their beta state, in their awake state. And yeah, I think our bodies are very responsive as well to healing.
Yeah. So the thing with hypnosis, there's this myth out there. You've got your stage hypnotists who come on, and they get a bunch of people and they hypnotize them on stage and make them do all sorts of stupid, silly things. And people actually think that it's an act. It's not real. And I know people whose friend has gone up on stage, and then when the friend comes down, they'll say to them, "Oh, you were just doing it because you were in the moment.
Stage.
Yeah, you're on stage, and he told you to do it, so you did it. Just to be part of the show." And they're like, "No, I didn't," and they don't believe them, because we've been told that hypnosis doesn't work. Again. And the other thing too is the big one, which it goes into the the mind control stuff, which the CIA has been doing, and we know the CIA has been doing the MK Ultra thing, whether you want to believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that they've always said is that they can't make you do, like a hypnotist can't make you do something that you wouldn't do yourself if you were conscious. And that's not true. That is not true, because what they're tapping into is something that, we don't really understand fully, the unconscious mind. But that's if you get hypnotized. There have been people that have been hypnotized and they've done things that
against their moral
totally
character.
Against their moral code.
I think what you're actually trying to say there is that we've been sold a sort of theatrical notion of hypnosis and mesmerism.
Yes.
And behind the scenes, that has been purposely done because it's been an effective tool in counter-espionage for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can go back to the notion of the Manchurian Candidate.
What he said.
But when we actually start to look at, I don't know if you've actually perused Tom O'Neill's book, Chaos, which is a re-look at the whole Bulgosi and Charles Manson incident, but also MK Ultra was there in San Francisco, and that whole area that time doing clinical studies behind people's backs with two-way mirrors, prostitutes, utilizing LSD and things like that, and utilizing hypnosis and
to control people.
And it looks like the Manson may not have been just a product. He might have been a grand piece of social engineering, because at that stage, young people and what people deemed Manson to be was a hippie and a threat to productive Western culture, but he wasn't that at all. He was an institutionalized son of a street worker who'd had a very abusive life. But it looks like that similar people were actually there in San Fran with the parole officer that were working for MK Ultra. And in a way, Manson had discovered what they were searching for, and that was the control of the human mind. He had a large group of followers that they suggest were under his hypnotic ability. Yeah, hypnosis is an extraordinary thing. And can you tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, how you understand human consciousness? Do you think it physiologically sits in the human body, or there's something else to this?
I think it's something else. I think it's outside the body, that we are more than a physical body, and we've got a consciousness which survives it and we take that with us from lifetime to lifetime. There's countless of testimonials about that,
Yeah.
near-death experiences. I had a couple of phone calls from a friend who passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. All I heard was crackling, but it was her phone number, well, maybe someone used her phone, I don't know, but I just heard very thick crackling and a very, very faint voice twice, and she'd already passed. It was maybe a couple of hours after she passed.
Right.
I've had a client who showed me on her phone 2 phone calls from her late husband. So her husband died, and he phoned, even 2 missed calls, but the date was 5 years in the future, and it was on their daughter's birth date.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
That's just
So
made
we
all the
couldn't
hair on the
explain
body
that.
stand on end.
Yeah.
There was it
Yeah.
Raymond Fowler that wrote the first book on telephone
Andres.
calls from the dead?
Was it
can't
Cal
remember what.
Cooper. Cal Cooper.
That might be
Yeah.
who it is. I might have got that
Yeah.
wrong. And that's an incredible book. And also, in a way, it explains what you were talking about initially with the radio. And we've had
Yeah.
the same thing happen with the TV channel connector.
That was weird.
Uh-huh.
That
was
we've
very
had
weird.
moments where it's running through the channels, and we've thought something's on the remote control,
And the remote control was.
and the volume was going up.
Yeah.
And what got really scary, Joyce? And this was in the midst of big emotional stuff for us.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You leaving your husband and all this sort of stuff
Mhm.
occurring,
Yeah.
and research we were doing. I find it increases with the more research you do,
Yeah.
which
Right.
is really odd. We reached a point where the volume was going up and down, that was running through the controller.
Yeah.
And then so I pulled the toggle switch off, and then no
It's-
power running to it. It
It's
came
still
on.
doing it. Yeah.
It came on and did it.
And still
So you
doing it.
just go at
Okay.
that point. That's like your story really
Yeah. It's
resonates
like,
with
this
us.
is really weird.
Did you have a feeling of what that was?
Yeah, we did
Like
both.
if you were not, put away your logical mind, what was your
Yeah.
feeling? You
Yeah,
know who that was?
No, well, we had a feeling that it was in the midst of research. And the honest thing, I left to go to the Nullarbor. I was doing a freelance program called To Catch a Flying Star for the ABC in the 90s.
Mm.
The moment I left,
Yeah, it stopped.
it stopped.
It all stopped.
It was over.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We actually had some paintings in our house as well
By abductees.
by an abductee who'd done a series of paintings of her abduction scenario.
Mhm.
And she'd left it, and then we had all this turmoil happened with her.
With the relationship.
With the
and everything.
relationship, it all sort of went, pear-shaped.
Mm,
And that's, and those paintings actually were flying off where we had them put up on the windowsill. They were just flying off the windowsill and landing in really bizarre ways that wasn't just like falling, which, if they were leaning up against the wall on an angle, then they would, but they wouldn't just flip over and fall straight down in front of it. It was they were flying, halfway across the room, which was like, okay, there's something going on here beyond, something just tipping off the ledge and falling. So
yes.
we actually got rid of those paintings. We rang him and said, you need to come and get your paintings out of here now. You know what I mean? It was like there was some sort of connection, but still the running the channels through the TV and all that weirdness was very bizarre. Because when Jamie left for the Nullarbor, it did it for a little bit. And I actually then found the remote control because we couldn't find the remote control. And we thought that the remote control was somebody was either leaning on it sometimes or sitting on it or something was triggering it wherever it was because we'd lost it. And I actually was cleaning out under the bed and there it was at the top, near the wall. And it was, I pulled it out and the batteries were actually dead. So it wasn't even that doing it, that's where, and it wasn't in a line of, because infrared's got to be in line, you've got to be pointing it at. So it was round the corner from where the TV was. It was a whole bunch of things that was like, it's not the remote control doing that. It was something else. But, not a little bit after, like a day or two, it it stopped. It never happened again, and that was the end of it. So that was really
We did
quite
have it actually happening here a couple of years ago.
Where?
On the old TV set, it started to happen as well.
Yes, it did. It did.
And that was in the midst. It's always in the midst of some
Some-
heightened experience or
Yeah.
a bit of turmoil.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
deep research.
Yeah.
And at
Yes.
times it's made us stop with the deep research just to get a
Oh.
breather.
Yeah. Gone. Okay.
Because you want to go back to Maslow's hierarchy of values and deal with one thing at a time. And when all worlds collide,
yeah.
and Joyce, I feel really dreadful for you in this interview. We're talking more about ourselves than we are interviewing you.
Oh, no, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's so many explanations. Like there have been research saying that, you know, when we are in a heightened emotional state, that energy is being channeled to maybe make these things happen. But I think it's a real case by case. I think that there is also a potential that it is something outside ourselves that is using the electrical energy to, you know, trying to communicate. And maybe it was, I don't know, do you think it was linked to that project that you were doing? Yeah, to me, it's so personal.
I'm
Like,
sure
I
it
think,
was.
yeah,
Emotionally, intuitively,
Yeah.
it felt strongly like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It did.
yeah,
And in a
yeah.
way, it's sort of like trying to decode a crop circle. It's like you know that they're trying to tell you something,
Mm.
and the reality is screaming at us, but
But
we've
we just
become
don't
so
know.
blind to it that
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
really hard for us to decipher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
And I think it's just a
yeah.
joy to actually speak to someone of your ilk that is open to all this. It's incredible. It just starts pouring out, doesn't it? You can't help
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So have you
And
had
yeah.
people come to you that have, you know, come to you for, you know, they say it's for one reason, but really there's an underlying and they just don't know how to go about
Yeah,
sorting it
they
out,
have.
you
And
know?
when they find out I'm really open to this, then the
Mhm.
floodgates come out. And I've had people coming for me to find out about past lives,
Right.
trying to figure out their relationship with certain people in this life. And
Mhm.
then I'll do a past life regression and they get the answers. I've got someone who said that she's an abductee. She actually talked to a really sing-song language.
Mhm.
Under hypnosis. I've had someone else who it just seems like she's been put in the, for want of a better term, there's the super soldier program, the secret soldier
Right.
program, or whatever that is. Yeah.
Right.
And her emotional reactions really matched what she was saying. I
Mhm.
mean, I would go through, you know, like, you know, is it drug induced? Is it, you know, a mental illness? Is it just hallucinations? But it's been
Mhm.
consistent. So, yeah. So I'm really open minded because I think we need to find out the answers. We need to. We haven't touched much on the potential of the human. Yeah, the human species
Abilities.
and
Yeah.
also reality. Like, what is
Mhm.
reality? You know, it's so vast. We're probably sharing the same space with so many different
Mm.
entities, and you know, yeah, I don't think that we exist in, you know, just a 3D solid
Mhm.
material
Yep.
reality. Yeah,
If
so those
there
people need answers.
You know what? I'm not interested in the answers as much as I'm interested in supporting people going through this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the older I get, the more of a hypothesis we sort of throw away, don't we?
Hypothesis-less.
Yeah. I think that it's really important that people get support, and the answers may be in many ways beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, I was just
Just
thinking
like
that then, right then, thinking even if somebody or someone or something explained what was going on, we probably, our minds in this state that we're in this 3D human form that we're in, we probably wouldn't even be able to grasp the truth of what we really are and what we're really
I'd like to
capable
think
of.
we could, but
No,
I
we
still
can't. We can't.
No.
Otherwise, we would have worked it out by
Yeah.
now. We would have
Yeah.
worked it out by now. I'm
I
telling you
agree.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think at least if they can make sense of things, like,
Yeah.
you know, we like to make meaning
Yeah.
of our environment, of our lives. And yeah, I guess that gives us the depth. So,
Now,
yeah.
I think another important thing, if I can digress back to hypnosis, there's going to be a lot of clinically based psychologists out there going, well, hypnosis can be very leading.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mhm.
someone, they can actually create sort of false memory syndromes. There's a lot of questions about that actually being a reality or not either.
Yeah.
But just tell us about the right way to go about hypnotically trying to ascertain these thoughts, feelings, and experiences from people, and what can be maybe possibly the wrong way to go about it with hypnosis.
Yeah, you have to ask questions that aren't leading and
Mhm.
record it. And it won't stand up in court anyway. Anything from hypnosis won't stand up in court. But
Mhm.
if there's supporting evidence, like if there's
Right.
certain dates, times, events that you can support it with, then yeah, that would be, I guess, more valid. But it's really for that person. You know, if it's meaningful for them, then they will use it and it will empower them. But yeah, no, yeah, leading questions, no. So instead of saying, you know,
Did you
what
see an
places?
alien?
Yeah,
Yeah. You would ask,
yeah,
what
yeah,
did
yeah. You
you
don't say, yeah,
see?
what did the alien
What
look like? No.
describe what you saw
Yeah,
rather than
exactly.
describe the alien that you saw.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think there was a lot of fear there initially with Bud Hopkins, who probably, you know, his Missing Time book was even before Whitley Strieber's Communion.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
he was utilizing hypnosis, but he was an abstract painter.
Yeah,
He was an
Mhm.
abstract artist out of New York. So everyone was going, "Oh, is he leading people?" And this came into question when we had people as credentialed as Dr. John Mack.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
John Mack was even set up by people who played that game to sort of dispel the validity. But, you know, if anyone has a problem with the most profound abduction scenarios, read those two books by Dr. John Mack and you'll re-question entirely where your perception is distorted, because you don't get a more highly credentialed man than that
Yeah.
stepping into the world going, this is not
There's
an
something.
aberration of the human mind. There's something genuine occurring here.
Absolutely.
I would love to know very quickly before we go into the conference details about your UFO sightings.
Yeah. I was on a farm with my then boyfriend, and it was probably maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. I saw this huge round sphere going across the sky, moving really, really fast, and it was dimming, glowing, and then it zigzagged, disappeared, reappeared, going really fast, zigzagged, and disappeared. The second time, 10 years later, I saw in New Zealand when I was at the top of a mountain. And as far as I know, I was the only one that saw it. Same sort of craft. I believe it's a Pleiadian craft. And that's just my own personal gathering of information for myself, observing myself as well. I have a tape called Music from the Pleiades. I bought that when I was a teenager. I used to draw when I was young, draw women with long blonde hair, even though I'm from Singapore, and with sparkles around them.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I've also had a reading from, I can't remember his name now, but he does soul readings. Yeah, and he said Pleiadian, and but this is just for me. So again, it's like there's something, this meaning that we put for ourselves, and then meaning for the wider community. And I guess for the wider community, people just want evidence, but for yourself, it's still meaningful. For your own self-discovery.
I think all of
Yeah.
us too, you know, you get to know your body, you live inside your body,
Yeah,
and what
exactly.
resonates with you intuitively, you're drawn towards. And, you
Mhm.
know, Pleiades is just a word, you know.
Mm.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of noise attached to the signal. of all these things. And we need, we always say to other people that ask us, well, where's the best place to go? And I go, the best place to go is inside yourself, and then cherry pick. Someone might have distorted information. They might have a little bit of propaganda, disinformation.
Yeah, you don't know.
But intuitively cherry pick it, and you'll find what you need. It's different for everyone.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Can I just quickly go back to the hypnosis and mind control?
Yes,
That's
please.
a really interesting topic. There is a difference, even though there is an overlap. So hypnosis, what we do isn't mind control, even though hypnosis can be used in mind control. So we put someone in a very, very relaxed state so they get into their alpha or delta state. And the theory is when you're in a really relaxed state, you're more open to suggestions. So in your awake state, you might think, if I say run up that hill, you think, oh, no way, I can't do that. But when you're in a deeply relaxed state, I say you can run up that hill. Your mind will think, oh, yeah, maybe I can. So they're more open to suggestions. And it's very powerful. Unfortunately, I think even though humans can be very powerful, we are very programmable, and I think that's where mind control comes in. And I don't know whether you've heard of Kathy O'Brien.
Oh yeah, Kathy.
I wrote to her.
Taylor, all those,
But you know what? There is historical evidence there to support a lot of those things that might be very wild for people to actually take in and consider being a reality. But, Sidney Gottlieb and what was happening in Canada with MK Ultra. And, it was that big fear after the Second World War that troops in the height of battle, in their own conscious, if they were brought up with love in their heart, found it hard to do the kill shot even when their life was threatened.
Yeah.
So what they were searching for was the ability to actually bypass that. And
turn all the soldiers into cold-blooded killers. That's what it was.
Very compartmentalizing their mind.
That's right. Most soldiers couldn't do the kill shot. That's what it was. It was like once they saw that person in their sights, they actually couldn't pull the trigger because they felt a connection. It's another human being. This guy's fighting just like I'm fighting. Why should I kill him? Why are we here? What are we doing? You know what I mean? And so that's what they were trying to find, was to control their soldiers to make them, efficient in killing. But then it's like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to send them back home then?
And that's when we started to get spree killers at serial killers.
That's right.
That's when all that started to happen in our culture.
It all went.
The post-Vietnam or in the middle of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Isn't it fascinating? Can you also, I think, are you aware, and can you tell us about this, that there are certain individuals that are far more hypnotically suggestive, sensitive than others?
Yes,
is that
definitely.
True?
Yes,
definitely.
It is true. Yeah, some are highly hypnotizable, and they're the sort of people that can go under the surgery without any anesthetic, but just under hypnosis. Most of us are in the mid-range, medium hypnotizability, and then there's some people who can't be hypnotized because they can't relax, they can't trust.
Control freaks, aren't they?
Yes. They just can't relax.
The control freaks. You can't hypnotize a control freak.
You know what? They didn't call television programming for no reason.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that TV puts you into that highly suggestible state, and that's why advertising's so effective on that
so.
Let's not even go there,
And
don't fall asleep with the TV on.
No, it's not a good thing, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to be on the SBS movie show when Margaret and David went to the ABC, and I just wanted to say that because I'm a very insecure man, but I also wanted to say 5 stars to you. This is one of the most beautiful conversations we've ever had. Let's go into this conference.
Absolutely.
This brilliant conference.
So this conference is coming up on the 27th of July. It's an online conference.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it starts at 8 in the morning. You get to
8:30. 8:30. Sorry.
No, 8 o'clock for the mingle, isn't it, with you?
Oh, yes. For the minglers, exactly.
And look, why would you miss that? I mean, we're enjoying it so much now. And maybe tell us a little bit about the president of the Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research, Vladimir, Dr. Vladimir. He sounds astounding. He brings a lot of equipment to the ghost sort of work that you do. And then we'll go through the speakers. And I don't think I've got
Sure.
Vlad's picture up. But anyway.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, so
No.
Vlad, no, he's brilliant. He's a neuroscientist. He's a lecturer at a university, and he does a lot of investigations. So he's got the equipment, the cameras, etc. So he's got a very scientific mind, but yeah, more so recently he's been going through some spiritual emergence, I think. So really opening up to experiencing something that is not tangible. So that's quite a big thing for Vlad. But he's published quite a few studies.
And you can actually catch
Yeah,
you guys on the web. Do you have a web channel? I've noticed there's a couple of lectures with both of you up there on YouTube.
Yes. So I've got my own YouTube channel called Salubrious Events. Sorry, it's a bit to spell. So yeah, Salubrious Events. And we've also got the AIPR, so Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research YouTube. And we've
We'll
got
put a link to
the
both of those.
Yeah,
there as
links,
well.
links in the
Yeah.
notes. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hmm.
it kicks off. That conference kicks off on the 27th, and your first speaker
Oh,
is.
the Ben Spoon things.
Yeah, you did. Oh, let's show
And
that.
so
photo.
that's Sydney time. Oh, geez.
Sorry, we've jumped. We're all over the place. You can see how
That's
we're
all right.
untrainable. There you are,
We-
bending spoons.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That was our last conference last year. We have a face-to-face conference once a year. This time it's going to be the last Saturday of November in Sydney.
Okay.
That's our
Where you're at.
tradition.
Yeah.
It's always a lot of fun, and we had a spoon bending exercise.
Mhm. You have
What
to
I
bring your
did was
own
I blew
spoons, or
on
do
the
you get 'em from
spoon.
the hotel?
I blew on the spoon until it got really hot, and then I bent it. So sorry,
Wow.
maybe a bit
Okay.
of cheating there.
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
think
You
you
have to
can-
do what you have to do. I mean, some of those spoons, I can't bend anything.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't wait for that. Hopefully, if we've got that day free, we will meet up with you.
Oh, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
Because you guys are in Sydney, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes,
Is
we
that right?
are.
Oh,
Where do you
brilliant.
hold it? Where do you hold it?
Where would that
Usually
be held?
North Sydney at the community centre, Sydney Community Centre.
Okay.
Brilliant.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I'll send you
Fantastic.
the info.
And we will
But-
spread that around. But let's kick off with our first speaker here for your online conference, which is Steve Parents, is it?
Steve Parsons.
Parsons. Parsons.
I've
Oh,
misspelled
Parsons.
it there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Parsons.
Yeah, I've misspelled it on my
Yeah,
notes.
it's
Excuse me.
Parsons.
Yeah.
It's Parsons.
It is Parsons. Yeah, so he's very experienced. He's had 50 years of researching ghosts. I
Right.
think he was on the Wall Street Journal as well,
wow.
the gold standard of ghost investigating, something
Wow.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's quite well known in his field, and he's going to be talking about infrasound.
Okay.
I don't know much about it, but it
Yep,
sounds
yep.
really technical. But infrasound and its relationship with reported paranormal experiences.
Well,
yeah.
it's a major issue, especially for a lot of researchers on Untold Radio out of California,
Yeah.
because what they deal with there is the parallel hominid, Sasquatch,
Sasquatch,
Bigfoot,
Bigfoot. Yep.
and they all feel at moments that there's not only a bit of mind speak,
But
if they're
infrasound
open,
attack.
infrasound attack, where
Yeah.
they actually feel disorientated or they feel nauseous or
Yeah.
their fear factor goes through the roof.
Yes.
Now,
Mhm.
there are primates out there that use infrasound. I think.
Elephants use infrasound.
Yes.
Yep. And
Okay.
Sumatran tigers use
Yes.
infrasound. So yeah, it's a thing. It's a big thing.
And so I think
Wow. Do dogs and cats use infrasound?
No.
no,
No.
I think it's more in your major predators.
Yeah.
But it's interesting too about that notion of a signal being emitted, and it's large in the parallel hominid
Absolutely.
community.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time.
The other thing there in that community, which amazes me, is that this notion of like a lot of men in the States in retirement time go, okay, I'm gonna prove to the world that there's this other relic hominid out there. And when they pick up that gun to shoot it, because they think, let's shoot it, let's chop its head off and prove to the world that Bigfoot exists.
Well, you've got to
That-
bring something back.
They actually see something that looks so similar to them
Human.
that they never shoot a gun again. They never go into the wild with that gun again. I'm generalizing.
Wow. That's
And
great.
so there's
Yeah.
that moment that clicks in their consciousness. The moment they stop taking cameras, the moment they
Mhm.
stop taking weapons, they start having the most incredible interaction
Mm.
from
Wow.
hearing, communication in their head, or even things like these beings braiding the hair of the horses they've
You
ridden
love
into the
that
camp.
story,
I
don't
love
you?
that. It's just like they're braiding their hair from the fourth and fifth dimension and stepping back again. So speaking about America, you've got a very exciting guest directly after Steve, which is Mark D'Antonio. And we've all
Yes.
seen Mark D'Antonio in numerous documentaries where he was
Oh,
analyzing UFO footage. And so tell us about Mark.
yeah. Oh, well, Mark is he's an astronomer. He's got some amazing, fascinating stories. He's experienced a lot of paranormal experiences. I think he's got some Native American Indian in him.
Right.
And yeah, and I interviewed him. It's on my YouTube channel. He talked about healing from a very chronic illness. He was paraplegic, and
Wow.
yeah, and couldn't walk. And after this experience, he described it as really physical. Like he really felt he was physically abducted by these maybe Navajo Red Indians, and
Right.
they were taking him places and telling him what to do, like shooting at this thing. But he was actually shooting at his blood clots in his brain.
All right.
And
Okay.
and yeah, and when he came out of it, the doctors said, "Oh, the
Gone.
blood clots aren't there anymore."
Gone. Yeah.
And he could walk again. So it's just hugely amazing story, but that's not what he's going to talk about this conference. He's going to talk about how science has failed the paranormal, and how we need to perhaps look at quantum mechanics or quantum
Yeah.
physics to be able to explain paranormal experiences.
Right.
Yeah, he also runs Sky Watches, as you know, on his YouTube channel. Yeah, but yeah, this conference is going to be very interesting, I think, for those that want to, who are interested in researching
Mhm.
the paranormal. Yeah, Mark.
Great diversity. And that again fits in with the work from Ron Morehouse, who's written a book on
Yes.
quantum Bigfoot, the
Yes.
Sierra sounds, where you
Oh,
actually hear what this sounds like, an articulated language that may make sense to the indigenous population a
Well,
lot
it
more.
sounded very, very,
North American Indian. Yeah.
The
mhm.
the way they were talking, it was just
So
freaked me right out.
again,
Yeah.
you've hit a raw nerve there. And then we go to the beautifully manicured Boris here. Tell us
Oh,
about Boris.
he's amazing. I've met up with him a few times. He's in WA,
Boris
Perth.
Walter. Mhm.
Yeah, he's got a very hypnotic voice. If it's if there's a voice that can put you in trance, yeah, he's got a very soothing but full of wisdom. I think he's had a few lifetimes where he's been a medicine man, but he's
Right.
going to talk about he's a hypnotherapist as well, and he's had a few clients come in. And under hypnosis, they change into a whole new personality with a whole different identity.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
whether it's past lives or something for their subconscious, Boris was able to follow it up and research to see if that person actually existed and whether
Mhm.
that person died. And yeah, I think he's had some positive outcome with that. So I hope he talks about that case, but
Mhm.
he's going to talk about that and maybe some theories as to how, how can some people have a whole new persona, even talking a different language as well under
Yeah.
hypnosis.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, how does your brain
I
all
mean,
of a sudden know a whole new a language
sometimes
that you've
people
never studied?
articulate that in their sleep, even without hypnosis.
Have you
Even
ever heard me
in going
talking
back.
something else?
Oh, I've heard
Yeah.
you say a few things that have really freaked me out. But
Well, it could either be Greek or Macedonian,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe even French, because I have known those languages. So
and
you know.
how does you know, talking about that, because Asper is Greek, beyond Greek. She is
Mhm.
from Lesbos, and her community, pronounce that properly for me.
Ayashos, yeah.
That community has the most vitriolic language in the world because they're run over by everyone. But you were born in Belgium.
Yeah, so I knew French before I came here, or I had to forget it. And so I speak Greek, English. I spoke French up until I was 7 and then had to come here. And then I had to learn English and Greek because that's all I knew. And then the first husband was Macedonian, so I learned to speak Macedonian as well. So, there's a few languages in there.
And you know what? Her parents are extremely open to all of this through their culture and their history. Was it like that with you coming from Singapore? Were you born here or?
Yeah, I was born in Singapore. I didn't really experience openness. I think my grandmother might have. She always had an altar, and she would, offer food and burn the incense. But I never really spoke to her about that because I was only 5, and I came to Australia when I was 5, turning 6 years old. I didn't speak a word of English, and I just learnt it through listening to my classmates.
Mm-hmm.
But my family, no, not really, not that open, unfortunately.
I think sometimes there's a
Yeah.
lot of fear in different cultures, isn't there?
Yeah.
My grandmother was a Christian Scientist on my mother's side. She lived next door, and I miss her deeply. She was gorgeous. But the whole thing about Christian Science is don't go to the doctor
Yeah.
and don't delve into the paranormal.
Yeah.
But she had that classic Federation style from the 30s lounge room with the concertina lead light doors. And those doors were always pulled tight. Joy, we couldn't get in there.
Oh.
When she died, we got in there and there were paranormal books, clippings to the frigging ceiling.
Wow.
She was hiding it from the rest of the family.
Oh, wow.
So you just
How
go,
interesting.
I was fascinated that, my God, behind the scenes, she was leading a double life. And it's also that interest in yourself. You understand in a DNA wise where that was coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Boris looks fascinating. And the last speaker for the day
Yeah.
Yeah,
is Lynn
Deborah.
Katz.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
Deborah Lynn Katz. Yes.
Yep, Deborah Lynn Katz. She's
Any
a
relation
very
to that?
experienced remote viewer,
All right.
clairvoyant,
Wow.
medium. She teaches mediumship, remote viewing as well. She did a class in Sydney actually last year. Or was it last year? Or was it this year? Gosh.
Don't worry, time
Oh,
flies.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
Joyce?
she's the president of the Remote Viewing Association, International Remote Viewing Association.
Wow.
Sorry, you were going to ask a question?
I was going to ask you, what's the difference between remote viewing and astral traveling, or is it the same thing, just with different names?
I think you don't have to astral travel to remote view, but remote view can include astral traveling.
Right.
Oh, actually, hang on. Because some people have a very physical experience when they remote view, and others don't. So, so you don't have to, you can just, certain images might come to your mind, or you might have a little bit, but actually astral traveling, that's really isn't it going into the 4th dimension?
I don't know, but it's going, it's actually leaving you.
Again, it's that out of body.
Out of body.
Spirit, whatever you want to call it, leaves your body. Because I know Jamie had a friend that he nursed with in
trained in the
70s. Yeah.
She was a country girl.
She was a country girl from Narrandera. Had
probably
no clue about any of this paranormal or anything. And she was just a really down to earth, hardworking lass. And she
midwife.
Yeah, she was a midwife, and she trained as a nurse and then became a midwife. But she told you tell Joyce the
Well,
story.
she used to say that she's having these dreams that are scaring her, and she has to grab the end of the bedpost before she's sucked out the door or the window. And she'd also come to me and go, "Did you put a candle on your mantle last night?" And I
Mhm.
did. So, and
Oh.
she didn't understand
She didn't know
why,
what was
what
happening
was
to her.
happening, and I always felt a
Uh-huh.
very strong connection to her emotionally. She's no longer with us, but she
Mhm.
was just one of these practical people. She wasn't going to step into that world. She was a midwife.
She didn't know
She
anything about it.
she worked in country hospitals after, with frontline work,
Mm,
but it was happening to her all the time.
yeah.
And
Oh,
in the end,
interesting.
she was not afraid of it. She'd just come
Okay.
flying towards you, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
But
great.
yeah, she had no
Wow.
clue what was happening to her. Jamie had to actually say to her, "You're actually astral traveling.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to you."
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
I don't know how many people out there, this could be happening to that actually never report it to anyone, maybe to a close friend they confide in it. And only because Jamie knew about it, he was able to explain to her what was happening to her. But if it was someone else that she told that didn't know what was happening, they would have just thought, maybe
Dismissed
she's,
it. Yeah.
dismissed it or went,
Mm.
she's a little bit cray-cray. Do you know what I mean? How many
Yeah,
other
for
people are out
sure.
there that this is happening to that we don't know about, that don't report it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
Yeah,
think a lot more common than we realize.
I think so
A
too.
lot more common, but people just dismiss it or think it's just a dream
Or
or
just
forget
integrate it
about
into their
it.
life and just go on.
Now we're going to
Yeah.
have a link straight to the site where you can actually sign up. This is cheap as chips. It's $40 Australian
That's right. For
for
all
the
Yes.
those
day,
speakers. Yep.
which is
Mm.
nothing to the US. I think they've devalued our dollar so badly. It'll be about
Oh,
$20 US.
$20. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Wow.
is
Mm.
nothing. And is it interactive in a sense? People go up
Yep.
and do a chat. Can they tell us about that?
So they're going to talk and then have a Q&A,
Right.
but if they want to, they can do what, like they could just have a very casual session, and it's up to the speaker. Some
Mhm.
speakers welcome questions during their talk, but
Right.
there will be some interaction. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
Awesome.
because I think that's important to be able to ask questions.
For sure.
um, but just quickly with Deborah, she's going to talk about the images that come in our heads. Like, have
Mhm.
you ever asked where do they come from? Like, why do I get these images?
Mhm.
Yeah, so she's going to talk about the images that come into our heads, as well as images that we deliberately try and imagine, like say
Mhm.
with remote viewing, that we put in our heads. That's
Mm.
something a bit different.
I always have that
Definitely.
image in the morning now at 65 that I'm a lot younger, and then I catch in the peripheral
Oh,
vision myself in the bathroom mirror and go, "Oh my God, that is the reality."
Well,
But
actually,
funny, I have the same vision.
no,
I've
you
been
look great. You
Oh,
look incredibly
thanks.
beautiful.
I've actually I've been able to do that for a long, long time now. Is I will see, because I make things all the time, like,
She's knitting right now.
I
No
yeah,
way. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
yeah.
Multitasking. Yeah,
Yeah,
women.
totally. I do it automatically, but I if I see, a piece of material or something, I I can get a vision in my head of what it's gonna look like, what I'm supposed to make out of it. Do you know what I mean? So I can see, if I just see a whole bunch of materials, then I this image will pop into my head, and it's, I've made a dress. It's made fully made out of that material, and I can see it, and then I can make it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I've always been able to do,
So you
or
see it
yeah,
first
just
and then you
I
manifest
see
it
it. Like,
by
I'll
making
see
a
so, like,
But
there's one.
sometimes you don't even measure things, do you? And you cut
No,
them
I don't. I
perfectly.
actually got a really good eye for, drawing straight lines or cutting straight lines or things like, I'm pretty, I've got that talent. It's a talent, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's the way my brain works. I worked out a long time that we've all got different kinds of brains, and some people have got, the really smart brain, that they're so super clever, super smart and genius level. And that's the way their brain is wired. And then there's people that have got a brain that they see something and they can draw it, amazing artists. That's the way their brain is wired. It's not something that you've learned. It's just something, it's the way your brain is wired. And, there's, they say, somebody will say there's some people that are just lazy. I actually don't believe people are lazy. I actually, it's just some people, their brain just doesn't work like that. It works a different way. And the trouble is that our world, we have to conform a certain way, and not all of us are wired that certain way. So that's why sometimes people in this world can really manage it, and have a really good, structured life. And then there's other people that just, they can't do it because their brain is just not wired that way. That's what I've learned in my 60
I agree. Yeah, there's so many individual differences. We can't all be lumped in the same group.
No, we can't.
Yeah,
But society does. Society says, this is how you live your life.
The school system.
The school system, then the work system. And it's like from this age to this age, this is how you act and what you do. And then from this age, once you hit your teens, then you've got to become responsible, and you've got to stop collecting things, and you've got to, do you know what I mean? And then you've got to become, responsible, and you've got to get, settle down and have a family. And, it's like it's been structured for us. And a lot of, maybe the majority of people can do that, but there's a lot of people that can't do that their brain is actually not wired like that. And so they're the people that fall through the net. And, that's when you get your hoarders buried alive. They can't manage a home. They can't, they can't keep their finances straight. They can't, a whole bunch of things happens to them. And they're looked on as like, not responsible, lazy. They get all these tags put on them that really don't apply. But we need to box everything. We need to label everything so we can understand who that person is and what that person is capable of. Or what they're not capable of.
Yeah. They're trying to shove someone in a little box. No wonder there's so many people that are repressed.
Exactly.
And not many people get to live the life that they truly
need
themselves.
to live.
And the saddest thing is not finding your potential.
Yeah.
Not seeing that who you are. I mean, I got school reports that I was a dreamer.
Yeah.
Well,
the big one too is parents having a job for their children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we all, we have children, and we want to put on them what we didn't experience, what maybe we didn't have a chance, and we want them to succeed at it because we didn't. And it's like, well, did you ask that kid whether they want to do that or not? They never do.
Today,
I am on a roll.
You haven't even had a cup of coffee yet.
I haven't had a coffee.
God help us when she has a cup of coffee.
But that's my really big beef when I hear people saying, oh, well, I sent my kid to this really exclusive private school, paid so much money, and now all he wants to be is he's a punk, is in a punk band. And it's like, well, did you ask kid if that kid wanted to do what you wanted him to do at school? I mean, maybe he's not capable, maybe his brain doesn't work like that. Maybe that's not what he wants to do. And the only way people are going to succeed at something is if they're passionate about it. And if you make them do something that they don't want to do, not going to happen.
Anyway, let's digress back.
Right, we have.
Let's digress to this online. Now, we will put a link up.
The link's there.
It is July the 27th.
That's right.
Yes.
Get ready.
Except if you're in the US. It's the 26th, Friday at night. That's right. Yeah.
And how many hours behind is that? Well, it varies from...
No, hang on. Is it the day before or day after?
The day before.
It's the day before for the US.
Why?
They're just 24 hours behind us.
Oh, they're behind us, but you're getting confused.
Oh, yeah, I am getting confused. Sorry.
Yeah. Stop dropping.
At that time, so when we're 8 a.m. here, Friday night. That's right. Oh,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, no problem.
Haven't had your coffee yet.
Just had a meltdown there.
So for all our international viewers, of which there are more than local ones, I think.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to check the time standard.
So it's Sydney time or
Yes, that's right.
so
Sydney.
Sydney time 8 a.m.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Which means Friday is some time in the evening for you people
Yes.
in the
Yes.
States. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Or anywhere else in the world. We have people from everywhere.
Yeah.
We've got people from
Yeah.
Germany listening to us too.
Great.
So just check. Just check what
Uh-huh.
time it's Sydney
Mhm.
8 a.m. time. Yep.
Is it still called Czechoslovakia? No, hold on.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
is.
joking. I'm
What?
joking here.
Oh.
All right. So 8 a.m.
Yep.
to commune with this incredibly transcendent, beautiful, professional, wonderful human
shucks.
being.
Joyce Bok. Yes.
Yep. And then 8:30, we'll have the President Vladimir there to give some background on the Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research and what they're doing. Steve Parsons is on at 9 till
Till
10.
10.
Now have a little break in between. You can run to the bathroom,
Do
grab your
whatever.
breakfast.
Make a coffee.
How exciting this day is.
Very, yeah.
And you
yeah,
don't have to leave home.
Yeah.
Mark D'Antonio, you can be in complete comfort
Yeah.
and enjoy the top researchers across the world
Yeah.
giving you it the way it is. That's 10:15 to 11:30
11:30. Yep.
when science confronts the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a break for lunch
Yes.
and then come back on for Boris
Yep.
at 1:15.
Mm-hmm.
Messages through the veil.
No, 12. When's Boris on?
Boris is on, starts at, do you start at 12
Noon.
p.m.? 12 noon.
Yeah. 12 noon till 1:15 p.m. Yep.
And then Deborah Lynn Katz from 1:45. So we'll put a link down there.
Yeah, the
Everyone
link's
can
there.
run to that.
Yep.
And look, support this association. They're doing incredible things.
It's a great, great lineup of speakers and a very, program, which is awesome.
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you so much. I want to say a quote if we are going to finish. Can I say a quote? Yeah, from David Morehouse. Have you heard of him? He's a remote viewer, worked for the CIA. Yep.
Yeah, and he was the one that really pushed things out there at that time during the Iraq War, wasn't it? He was incredible in terms of the anyway, David Morehouse.
Yeah, David Morehouse. He spoke last year at our online event. He said, he did talk about the Stanford University researching into all this stuff, the PSI, ESP. He said, our research has indicated that this is not unique to any one individual or any reason, meaning it's not unique to certain individuals being able to access these abilities. This is an inherent ability to every human being. We are born with these gifts, ability to operating on the scale of omniscient, omnipresent, and recognize our eternal nature.
Beautiful. Loving it.
It's the way it should be.
Yeah. Well, it's the way it is.
That is a beautiful statement.
Absolutely.
I don't want to leave, Joyce. I think we've had a great moment of communion here. She's just too lovely and profound.
Yep.
There's so much we could talk with you about, and I want to get you back on. We had the CEO of Randonautica. Do you know that app at all?
No,
Have you heard
I
of
don't.
That app is based on the Human Consciousness Project, which is random number generators around the world to see if people's thoughts actually have effect on those random numbers during heightened points of tension or things like September 11th.
So what you do is you get the app, you put it into your phone, you say, I want to walk 5 kilometers,
or travel 40 or 100
or whatever, or if you're walking or traveling, you give them the, how far you want to go. And then you don't have to put it in there, but you have an intent in your head of what you want to find on this excursion, right? And some amazing things have happened, really amazing things have happened. So it's if you go onto YouTube and just put in Random Nautica,
or even just have a look at our interview on Down South Anomalies. I can't remember what number it is.
There's stories of people who have done, put this app into their phone and then, said, I want to go this far, and this is what I want to, my intention is this. And then they've had the most amazing experiences.
It's also based on the work of Guy Debord, the French philosopher who came up with the situationist movement and wrote the book, The Power of the Spectacle. And his notion was, would derive, one of his very early theories was, you all get up and fall into a routine. why don't you do the opposite?
Yeah.
Instead of walking out the house and turning right, turn left and pay
Mm.
more attention to your
Your
environment.
surroundings. Yeah.
And we were
Right.
profoundly affected by this app because we think it's a way of exercising this dormant quality in all of us.
Yes.
And it's a
Mhm.
way of so I would love to get you on with her. And you guys
Sure.
have a
Yeah.
discussion. That would be
Yeah, I'd
just
love to. And I'll have a
superb.
look at the app. I'll
Yeah, check it out.
download it.
A
Yeah, thank
random
you.
Nautica. It's phonetically
Nortica.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Random
Random
Rando-
Nautica. Okay.
Nautica. Yep.
NAU. Nautica.
NAU. Oh, okay. Nautica. All
Yeah.
right.
Rando Nautica. Yep.
And you know what? I slipped up during the interview like I normally do because,
you?
as you can tell, we don't stop talking. We're very insecure people. And I said Astronautica. And she went, oh, my God, that's the next app because
In
the
space.
space race is on. You know,
Oh,
so I might
wow.
have created a whole brand new app just being
Yeah.
totally in there.
No one's going to space, baby. Let me tell you.
And Joyce, I feel dreadful. I hope we've given you a chance to at least say a few lines today.
Yes,
Because
you
it's
you
been
have.
really
Thank you so
exciting
much.
for us to have you here. And
Yeah, I've
is there
enjoyed it.
anything
Thank you to you both. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I
it's a
love your
pleasure.
little stories too. I love the casual,
We've got plenty of
you know,
stories, that's for
yeah, the casual conversations.
sure.
it needs to be that way.
Yeah.
Mm.
And look, if there's anything else we need to make the public aware about you guys, as we said before, you can, for $10, you get access to subscribe to the newsletter. The
Yeah.
journal's really cheap as well. That's twice a year.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
will put a link to the organization, to the conference.
Yep.
Anything else?
With the $10 membership, sometimes you get a discount on the event, so you get $5 off this conference
Okay.
if you're a member.
Okay.
And
All good.
we also do online courses, so we've got 2 certificates, so people can, if they want to study this even more, they can become a student and do several units. We've got beginners to advanced courses online, and that's marked by the academics in our committee.
Okay.
And how long
Yeah.
would that course run for?
Well, depends which one it is.
It's self-paced, so
right, okay.
yeah, you can take as long as you
you.
like.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exciting. We might sign up
Off
at
you
some
go.
stage. We need to hone our abilities. You know what I'm really
Really?
scared?
I need to hone my
No,
abilities
you
even
don't.
more?
You don't.
I don't think so.
You know what I'm really scared about? You know, getting to 65, not exactly living the healthy lifestyle. I'm just scared that
doing okay.
reincarnation. I'm
you're
talking about me.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I have to come round again? I'm exhausted.
Oh no,
at
this is my
point.
last go round. I'm ascending.
How do
I'm
you
not
know?
coming
How
back.
do you know
I
that?
know it into the core of my soul, and I've been
Yes.
saying it to you since we first met. This is my last go round. I've hit my peak, and I'm out
Yep.
of here. I'm not coming
Yep.
back. I'm
A
done.
lot of people are feeling that way. I feel that way too.
Yeah, I'm done.
I've
You know
heard
what's
don't go to
sad?
the light, like,
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
get
yeah.
the tunnel, don't go to the light, just turn your back and just say, I want to go
Just
back
go.
to source, or I want to go back to my
Absolutely.
star family.
Yep.
Yeah.
See,
Absolutely.
that's my fear, that you and Asper will
We're
be
gone.
off into a transitional cosmos.
I think you've just
And
started down
I'll
here.
be trapped here with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Jeffrey Bezos, and going, oh my God, world. That's what's going to happen.
No, you're not that much of a materialist. I'm
You know,
sorry.
the other thing I'm really curious about, did you see that 2017 film called A Ghost Story by
Not
David
yet.
Lowery?
No,
You need
I'll
to
write that
see it.
down.
You need to see this
It's an
film.
amazing film, actually.
Initially, it might look like I can't approach this because the ghost, the conceit is the sheet,
It's a guy under a sheet,
but
but
that
yeah,
is nothing. They
yeah.
use
Okay.
that
past that. Yeah, look past that.
because it's that whole thing of not going towards the light,
Mm.
and it has got,
Oh.
and it's a
Yeah.
hard film to get through the initial
It's
first
worth it.
half.
Yeah, it's
But
worth it.
it will explain a lot to you, and I'm going to track him down and just.
He's not coming back either. He's definitely ascending.
He
that one.
understands something.
He
And
knows.
for a film
Wow.
that fell into the pop cultural world,
Mhm.
there's something definitely distinctly high awareness
Yeah,
behind that
yeah,
movie.
for sure.
And
for
so
sure.
we
So
scream it at
who's
everyone.
the director, or who's that person's name?
my memory is David Lowry.
David Lowry.
Yeah.
Lowry.
David Lowry.
It was
Okay.
2017 it was made.
Yeah.
It's called A
2017.
Ghost Story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you see the
Alright.
cover of it, the poster is a guy under a
Sheet.
white sheet. So
With
that
the hole.
is that's the movie. Don't look
Okay.
at them and go, this is weird. So yeah. I mean, when I first saw the sheet, I was like, what the hell?
No
is
spoiler.
this?
There's an
Yeah.
incredible moment though when the sheet, the owners of the house are not in the house, and the sheet's at home alone, just staring maudlinly out the window.
Yeah.
And then across the street, it sees another sheet staring
In another
maudlinly
house.
out the window, and
Oh,
it's just in subtitles, and it goes, "Who are you waiting for?" And the sheet just goes, "I can't remember."
I can't remember.
oh, wow.
But anyway,
Yeah, it
Very
really gets you.
it's a really
contemplative.
profound film. Yeah. Well, it
Uh-huh.
touched us anyway. We're a bit
All right,
strange
well,
that way.
Joyce,
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to be go on the spectrum and go and see a doctor or something, but
don't.
thank you for putting up with both of us. And we
I'll
really
diagnose you if you want. Yeah, no.
That's the last thing we need. We'll be locked up for life.
Yep.
I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your candor. And we really have faith in you and the Institute for doing highly valuable work.
Absolutely.
So keep up with that. Give our regards to Dr. Vladimir. We would love to talk
And
to
say
him
hi
at
to,
some stage.
hi to Rob too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Definitely. I'll let them know. Well, thank
Yep.
you so much to you both.
right.
Yeah, I really
appreciate it.
enjoyed it. And thank you for what you do as well, getting all this out to the world, all this information. Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. And
All
it's a real
right.
blessing to meet you. So just stay safe.
Yes.
And we will catch up with you in November in the flesh.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Oh,
might have to get
fantastic.
security-
Great.
You might have to get security onto us, but we'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll get you a ticket.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, you
Awesome.
don't have to do
Thank you
that.
so
People need to
much.
support you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh,
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
I'm just going to play a quick ad for people
Yep.
we haven't played,
Mhm.
and then we're going to go into the outro. So
Yeah.
we're going to say goodbye now,
Okay.
and we will be back next week, and we'll speak to you soon. As
Yeah,
well.
we'll send
All
you a
right.
link for it. It streams on Saturday at midday in Sydney, so we'll send you those links as well.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
Joyce
right.
Thank
Bok,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of Parapsychology Australia, or the Australian Institute for Parapsychological Research, and an incredible psychologist, a clinical hypnotherapist, and at the end of the day, just a beautiful
All
transcendent
round nice
soul.
lady.
Yeah,
All right,
loved her.
kids. All right. We'll see you next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Hello, members. This is Chris. I have a cool news flash from the Untold Radio Network. Starting this May 2024, members of the Untold Radio Network will be receiving special after-hours show content notifications, plus a chance once a year to hang out on camera in a webinar setting with your favorite podcast personalities. And because we have 12 different shows, it means that each month you will get to meet different podcast hosts. This face-to-face meeting will allow you to discuss anything, ask questions, offer content suggestions, and get to know all of our hosts personally. Plus talk to them face-to-face through the magic of YouTube Live. Again, this is for members only. And don't worry, you will be notified well in advance of a simple sign-up reservation for that particular host or hosts. Plus, member-only after-hour shows will be available in our reserved members-only section on YouTube. Each podcast will be producing at least one after-hour show or more per year, and one webinar meet and greet per year. We sincerely thank you for being a loyal listener of your favorite Untold Radio Network shows and becoming a loyal member. Other perks include you getting top priority in chat, guest interactions, plus getting the answers to your great questions from our hosts and guests. There is even more perks to members, exclusive wallpapers, special discounts on books, merch, and more. So stay tuned for new announcements. This is Chris, signing off from the Untold Radio Network. We will be talking soon.